Okay, I'm gonna dive in. Just to let you know where we're going today, I'm gonna share a normal spreadsheet, take a look at inventory and actives and pendings, and then chat a little bit. I came back. Several of our staff and a couple of the partners were in Colorado last week for Ninja Leadership on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, which was amazing. And two of my big takeaways from that were centered around this question of how's the market doing, and what opportunity is there for us as realtors, and what that conversation looks like with clients. And these two takeaways were from Larry Kendall, and I really appreciated them, and I felt like they were relevant to the this week, this morning purpose. So I'm going to look through the spreadsheet pretty quickly, and then we're going to talk about those two applications. Okay, so first, here we've got our normal look at inventory. There is a little bit of significance here. I think this is the first time in a while that one of these numbers has jumped out to me a bit, and it's the active inventory number. You notice single family houses, Indianapolis address, just jumped over 2,000. Compare that to where it was for the majority of the year, going back to January 11th. It's actually now like pretty solidly been up at 1,900 or above basically since Labor Day. And yeah, I mean, I think that's fairly normal. Keep in mind, fourth quarter inventory tends to go up. It will continue to go up until February in most years, and then start to tweak down. So very normal. Just we haven't been at 2,000 single family houses for sale in Indianapolis for a decent bit. So having sustained that now since Labor Day is a bit of a new feeling, but not abnormal historically. We've got 946 pendings, 800 that have closed in the last 30 days. So you notice the days of inventory. This is like the inverse of absorption rate, is continuing to kind of inch up, right? So it had hovered through the spring and summer, basically between 40 and 55. And then right as inventory starts to go up, Labor Day, it's been kind of inching up from say 60 to now almost at 80. Yeah, this does not mean big inventory. This means the market is continuing to inch closer to a balanced market between buyers and sellers. I was sitting with Phil and Drew Kirk last night, and we were talking about these numbers indicate to me actually one reason to be optimistic for next year. I think next year could be the first time in a while that we've had what most people would call a healthy real estate market. Relatively balanced supply and demand, pretty equal leverage between buyer and seller in most transactions. If a seller wants to sell, they can sell. If a buyer wants to buy, they can buy. That days of inventory number right here is why I'm saying that if that number gets to at about 90, most people would say that's where you're going to find the best balance between buyers and sellers. So yes, having it at 34 like it was on April 19th is great if you're trying to sell a house. It's also great if you want the value of your house to go up. But in terms of our business and helping buyers and sellers exchange, 90 is actually probably a more healthy number. So reason to be encouraged about that. Okay, stop my share. I would love a little bit of participation here. And these 2 points from Larry Kendall last week are surrounding this question of how is the market. I think the ninja mindset has been very helpful for me in viewing interactions with clients or potential clients as opportunities for you to add value. This is the whole thing behind Ninja, right? We aren't attempting to sell them on something. We're attempting to listen to their pain and pleasure points and find ways to add value into their life, particularly as a real estate professional. What does that mean? about the question you all get. You got it over Thanksgiving. You're going to get it over the Christmas and New Year week. You're going to get it because of the volatility in interest rates. You always get it, but right now I think it's happening more often. How's the market? What does the ninja mindset have to say about when someone asks you, how is the market? Anybody want to unmute themselves? Stacy, you can't. You can unmute yourself, but you'd be cheating.
I think Larry normally says, well, what part of the market are you interested in?
Leslie, the all-star ninja, way to go. That is correct. That is his suggested response. Walk me through that, Leslie, if you will. Why is that his response?
He's told a couple stories where like realtors have made assumptions about their experience in the market. And like I'm thinking of one particular story where there wasn't a lot of inventory and someone asked about an agent about that and they kind of responded very negatively. And Larry stepped in and asked that question, and their interest was actually at a completely different price point and there was a lot of inventory there. So if you don't ask that question, you're making an assumption that you know exactly what they're interested in, and that could really change your answer based on what their interest is.
Yeah, that's great. Did everybody catch that? I think with some frequency, agents probably answer that question. They're attempting to answer honestly. The answer was something like, "Whew, it's brutal." Right? Transaction counts down, inventory's up, it's hard. Like, I'm not suggesting that's an incorrect answer. Maybe that's what your experience of the market has been. But this is, I think, the application of the ninja mindset to that question is it's one of your best opportunities to add value into the life of a client or a potential client. They are asking you because you are a professional. They're opening the door to a value add opportunity where you do not have to sell them something. You are literally giving them something that they just told you they want. The clarifying question that Leslie suggested is a great one. Oh, what area of the market are you interested in? That pivots you in a couple good directions. One, you're making the question about them, not just generally about the national housing market. But two, you're opening the door to a follow-up where you send them information. Think about this. Why would we not, as professionals, take that opportunity where the most typical question we get, how's the market, to say, oh, like subconsciously, right? Oh yeah, here's my chance to be a value add professional to you. What area of the market are you interested in? Well, I guess, I'm pretending to be the consumer that say, well, yeah, I guess probably, where I live. Oh, tell me a little bit more. Maybe you don't know where they live, so you're asking questions along those lines. Maybe you're saying like, well, would you be more interested in a perspective on the market from a buyer's angle or from a seller's angle? Just ask a couple questions, get some specific information about what would be value add to them, and say, hey, I'd be happy to email or text you some information. Maybe you have their contact, maybe you don't. But you see, like, that is a way to get value add information in front of a consumer in a positive way, regardless of how someone might interpret the data in terms of like, is it good or is it bad? And I thought that was a really good mindset and habit, particular to this question that I can't speak for your experience. I get that question fairly often. Without a doubt, I am getting it more right now than I typically do. It's interest rates, it's the volatility. Maybe it's the class action lawsuit that's been in the news. I think there's lots of reasons, but look at it as a value add. The second thing, and I was sharing this with Phil, and I appreciate Phil actually sent me a little image that I'm going to share in a moment. Well, I tell you what, this was the first time I had thought about a particular key question in the way that Larry presented it. And honestly, it now feels so obvious to me now that I've thought about it. I bet several of you are going to be like, well, yeah, Mark, I've thought about that in that way, which is great. You probably have. But it starts with this question. What drives the residential housing market, our industry? What is the main thing that drives real estate transactions, causes them to happen? That's what I mean by drives. What is it that causes people to buy or sell a house more than anything? Leslie already answered. You can't answer. Stacy, you still can't answer. You'd be cheating. Someone else has to.
Say some kind of change in their life or desire.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Lee said some kind of change in their life. It's major life events. That's what drives our industry. Major life events. I just jotted down a list of 9 major life events to give you some examples of context for this. Someone is born, someone dies, someone graduates school, someone gets their first career job, someone changes jobs, someone retires, someone gets married, someone divorces, the last kid moves out of the house. If you want to get to an even 10, you could say someone gets remarried, perhaps would be number 10. Those are the primary drivers of why people buy and sell houses. Would someone, as a little bit of a leading question, but put your thinking hat on here for a second. What's an area of concern and really frequent conversation right now in our industry that wasn't on that list?
Interest rates.
Lee, I should have said Lee can't answer because he already answered one. Lee nailed it. Interest rates. Interest rates do not, and by the way, you can prove this academically. You can just anecdotally, I think y'all could recognize interest rates do not cause people to buy or sell houses. Major life events cause people to buy or sell houses. I'm going to flesh this out a little bit. And then maybe we'll finish by talking about like how ought this affect our mindset as realtors. One way to look at this, hey, look, in Central Indiana, in the entire MyBoard database as a reference point, this year there'll be something like 26,000 transactions. So 52,000 sides, 26,000 houses that are trading hands. You have a realtor on both sides of most of those. So 52,000 sides. The 26,000 number, I think there's a couple ways to look at that. One way to look at that is, wow, that's 52,000 sides of sale. And in that sense, you think, boy, that's a lot of opportunity. And that's a factual statement, right? The other way to look at that is you have since 2014, every year since 2014, the lowest number of transactions has been just over 30,000 in Central Indiana. Is it factual to say transaction count is notably down this year? Yeah, right. Absolutely. 26,000 sides in comparison to going all the way back to 2014. The lowest we've had basically was just over 30,000. We've had a couple years where it got quite a bit above 30,000. So it's the lowest we've had in 10 years, right? That's a big deal. I don't think you want to put your head in the sand, but you see there's two numbers there you can focus on. One number is the 26,000 times 2, which is 52,000 sides. The other is the 5,000. How much lower is transaction count this year than where it has been any time in the last 9 years? And boy, this is human nature. You will gravitate toward a behavior that is based upon where your thoughts sit. You'll gravitate to a behavior that is based upon where your thoughts sit. If your thoughts sit on the 5,000, it's a fact. Boy, there's 5,000 fewer transactions this year in my marketplace than there has been any time in the last 9 years. That's going to lead to a particular mindset and particular behaviors. Versus, in my marketplace, there were 52,000 sides to provide value add to a client, right? The way that I would apply the okay, if there's all those sides, and we're acknowledging that it's major life events that drive real estate. I totally agree with that. I think that list of 9 kind of summarizes it. I'm going to share an image here in a moment. The way that I would apply that to help me make sense of okay, but in the last year, did major life events just slow down? Yeah, Lee's shaking his head. No, I'm assuming a number of you are too. No, right? There weren't 5,000 fewer major life events in the last year. So what do interest rates do? Well, this was the kind of eye-opening, yes, that makes tons of sense to me and is a really good perspective for a realtor. Interest rates push and pull transactions that were going to happen anyway into perhaps the year prior or the year later. I'm going to say that again. Interest rates are not the reason that people buy and sell houses. Interest rates very well might pull a transaction into the year before someone would have done it otherwise, or they might push a transaction into the year after someone might have done it otherwise. Interest rates do not prevent the major life events. The major life events are the main driver. This is why transaction count tends to function on a cyclical basis. Okay? So some of you are like, oh my gosh, yeah, this makes total sense. The way some of your minds work, I'm not making sense to you. The translation of that is the 25,000 deals that happened this year were primarily driven by major life events. The 5,000 deals that quote unquote didn't happen this year, some of them happened in 2020 and 2021 and 2022. Anecdotally, I bet the majority of you probably had a client that was like, boy, I didn't really think I was going to buy quite yet. I thought I was going to rent for another year, but my goodness, if I can get 2 3/4 on a 30-year fixed mortgage, and geez, it looks like prices are going up fast, I should probably go ahead and buy now. Right? Same thing on the selling side. Man, I didn't think I was going to sell for a couple years. We're 2 years away from that empty nester phase, but that house across the street from me just got 15 offers. I'd be foolish not to do this now. It's the major life event, right? It's the first real job. It's the empty nester that caused the move. The interest rate climate may have accelerated. The reverse of that is your client right now, well, maybe not right now because interest rates are actually tweaking down, but let's say over the last 6 months, that's really wanting to buy their first house, or is sitting on a 2.75% mortgage and thinking, gosh, I really want to sell. We need more space. We just had our second kid. But man, it's hard to give up the 2 3/4 to go to 8.5. They're gonna move, right? The interest rate climate is pushing their transaction into a year forward. That was a really helpful nugget for me in terms of mindset surrounding transaction count. And I'm gonna share this screen. This is from National Association of Realtors. This is what has happened over the last 24 months in our marketplace surrounding these major life events. 7 million new babies born, 3 million marriages, 1.5 million divorces, 7 million people turned 65, an indicator of retirement, right? Social Security, full draw on Social Security. 4 million people died, 4 million net new job switches, and 50 million job switches. The 4 million net new job switches, I believe, has to do with like a geographic change. Someone's changing jobs and moving, like they have to move to a new place. I think the 50 million job switches is inclusive of people that are staying in the same marketplace but changing jobs. I was very encouraged by that. That was a really good kind of economist type view of what drives our market. And then here's some real data that if you find yourself, and hey, no critique or shame, look, it can be a hard marketplace. So this isn't a like indictment on that tendency to focus on the negative. I'm actually saying that's human nature. If your transaction count is down or your marketplace's transaction count is down, I think it requires the intentionality to say, what am I going to focus on? Right? Is it the 5,000 or is it 26,000? Is it interest rates or is it major life events? So I hope that's encouraging. Yeah, share that with your coworkers, with your teammates. And I try to say it every week. Hopefully I do. If at any point in time, we can help you think through what does an application of this look like for me in my mindset, for my clients. Maybe it's, can you walk me through how to answer this question of how's the market and in a particular situation to give value add? Shoot me a text, give me a call. Would be happy to help you get better at being that value add of market information and positive mindset. So thanks for being with me this morning. Appreciate you all. Have a great week. We'll see you soon.